I love alien romance, but I especially love alien romance when the female main characters, are Black. This is something that I felt was missing and I did not see until I went out and searched for it. So today I'm talking to one of my favorite Black alien romance authors, and that is Nikki Clarke. I was so excited to hear more about her story, how she navigates writing what she wants, putting her own Nikki Clarke spin on a genre that has typically been predominantly white. Nikki writes across quite bit of speculative fiction, so including aliens, vampires, werewolves, and more. There is so much to Nikki Clarke's universe, and I had so much fun chatting with her in this conversation. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast contains mature content intended for adult audiences only. Hello, Nikki. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. So if you could start by telling us a bit about your author journey.
Sure, it's good to be here. So I have a background in creative writing. I have an MFA, and I actually started as a poet. I mean, I am still a poet, but my regular life, I write poetry, and I've always been a reader. So I've been a reader my entire life, obviously. And when I started gravitating toward fiction, it was really more of like a need for a desire to see otherworldly romance with Black people. I started publishing in 2017 or 16, and there weren't a ton of
Wow.
Black authors who were writing like aliens or, I mean, you have like some older stuff, like, the LA Bank stuff that was like from the 90s, but there weren't a lot of like, right now writers. So that's where I started. And I am generally not a great contemporary writer. I already, I already know that. I have skill in writing, but I'm not a good contemporary writer. But I think my background in poetry lent itself to weird things. And that just pushed me more towards speculative or like sci-fi. And that's just kind of where I landed. And, Toni Morrison said, and I know every like writer of color repeats this because it's so true. If there's something you want to read and you haven't read it, you have to like write it. And so I did. And it's been great.
Oh, that's so cool. So I'm curious, when you say that you have a hard time writing contemporary, what do you find is easier with sci-fi than writing contemporary? Like, why do you tend to gravitate towards that?
Yeah. Contemporary relies on reality.
Which
And
kind of sucks.
I know, right? It gets kind of boring. It relies on reality, which to me automatically, like the only way to make reality interesting is drama.
Right.
And drama can be boring for me. I don't know how to write good drama. It just ends up being dramatic, which
Right.
is not always compelling. I've written maybe like 2 contemporary novels, maybe 2. It's like, no, I've written 2 novellas and 1 like full length. And the full length is actually the first thing I wrote, and it was terrible. And I still say it's terrible. I never recommend it. It's not bad. It's just boring. And I don't mind saying that. Like if someone ever reads it and like, this was boring, I'm like, you're right. You are a good reader. You read that accurately. I will say that I do better in short form because there's less space to make things unnecessarily dramatic. So I could write contemporary short form, but I just love the flexibility of speculative, right? I like that it can rely more on culture. I was a anthropology major when I first entered college, and I wanted to be I was in college in the 90s. I'm old. So I wanted to be bones before there was bones, right? I was an
Right.
anthropology major. I was a pre-med concentration. I was taking like anthropological linguistics. Like that was my thing. And so I love that speculative it can rely on culture for the drama and not just, you have like another baby mama or something. I don't know. I don't know whatever. I feel like that's the most dramatic thing I can think of. Or like you cheated on me, right? Or I thought you cheated on me, but you didn't.
Right. Always that. So-and-so said they saw you with so-and-so. That
Saw
wasn't
you.
even my hair color. What are you talking about?
Exactly. And plus, I grew up in the 90s. So that's like the drama I was trained on, right? Like
Right.
the only real drama you have is a secret baby that's not mine and another girlfriend or something.
Right. So we've used this term speculative a
Mhm.
couple times now, and I don't think it's used as much in the romance space. So what is really like the difference between speculative fiction and sci-fi?
That's a good question that I'm probably going to answer wrong.
That's okay.
So
I don't know. So like I'll just be like, yes.
I think speculative, it tends to sort of encompass, I think, all of those, right? Like I look at it as sort of an umbrella term for things that have scientific and fantasy and, all of those elements, otherworldly type elements kind of wrapped in one. Where it's not as cut and dry as, vampires and werewolves,
Right.
right? Which tend to always sort of be grounded in this sort of like medievally, I mean, unless it's contemporary, the ideas are grounded in these sort of like medievally concepts. I think speculative opens it up more for just other worlds, like the complete creation of another world.
I think in the romance space, because speculative feels very masculine, right? And maybe that's just me being like from what I've seen. Like, no, dudes read that when,
Mm.
the romance space is predominantly female, that might be why we don't use that term as much, even though it is accurate for a lot of the books we're probably reading, or maybe we just
Yeah.
classify them as alien romance or alien smut. Just gotta
Yeah.
leave it there.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like the sort of grounding of things in the world that exists, but in less, I don't know what, more, I don't know, I want to say real ways, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I'm thinking Elizabeth Stevens, we've had her on the show. We'll have links for her episode in the show notes if y'all want to listen to that. But she has the Zaviri Mate series where it's like thousands of years in the future, humans are on a planet out in outer space, right? So like that would definitely be more like sci-fi. Whereas what you're talking about, like you have Black women who are living on Earth now, right? Like
Mhm.
nowadays times, who either get taken or meet somebody who they think are just fine Black men. Actually not.
Yeah.
They're aliens. But one thing that I love that you tie into your books is this fated mates aspect. At least the ones that I've read, you might have some that don't, that I just have not come across yet. But of the ones I've read, there is this fated mates element. Why was that important for like incorporating in the story?
Honest answer, because it's easy. So sometimes I'll incorporate like a trope, and it's just because it's a good grounding trope.
Mm.
And then you could do really interesting things with it later. And it's like, I mean, I can't play a lick of jazz, but if we're talking about like jazz improvisation, if you can play a saxophone, great. And, you learn all the basic notes, right? And then you just do other things. Fated Mates is an easy thing to ground your work in, or for me to ground my work in. And then, I like the idea of playing with the idea of fated mates, mostly because, like, as a person, I'm not sold on the idea of, my ideas of like love and attachment are very loose. I think when I was like a kid, I was probably like saying like, you could throw a rock and find somebody you could be with forever. I think that's actually true. Like, there's billions of people on this planet. Throw something behind your head.
Right.
And so I like playing with I like playing with the idea of fated mates as like a grounding concept, and then, exploring how that can change or be altered in some way from there.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. So I am, and I've talked about this briefly on the show, a romantic. I don't know that I feel romantic-y feelings towards people, and they're like, "Yes, I love you and I care about you, and I would do X amount of things for you, even to the detriment of myself,"
Mhm.
right? Love in that kind of aspect, but not like the lovey-dovey, "I'm thinking about them and I'm kicking my feet and I'm so excited to see them today." It's like, "No, I get to see them, cool, and we'll spend time together, and that's gonna happen." Like, I just
Yeah.
don't feel that those kinds of feelings, and so I think the idea of, like, a fated mates is so reassuring. So I love to read them, but one thing I love about, at least from the ones that I've read, is that kind of one-sided fated mates where the otherworldly individual, will say, feels those feelings and the other person does not. And has to, well, usually it's like, "Yeah, I'll totally bang you." Go from
Why
there,
not?
right? I mean, it's an alien. Hello. Of course.
And you're gonna take me away from here? Let's go. Let's do it.
But I love that aspect of kind of like that push-pull of, well, like, I feel these feelings and this is just a fact and this is like almost that miscommunication. No, you know what I'm feeling. Don't have no clue at
Mhm.
all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just me projecting my life, right? Which is so funny because I love romance. I'm in love with love. I think love feels
Yeah.
so lovely, but I can not love someone very quickly. Like, it's a very tangible and it's tangible and it has requirements.
Mhm. Yeah.
So if at any point it's not meeting the requirements in my mind, it automatically becomes not love. But romance is great, right? There's so many, I
Yeah.
think I categorize it and I like to explore those categorizations in my writing where there's like romance and then there's love and then there's in love and then there's like caring and there's, like all these sort of like different ways that I think in the human experience we can sometimes blend together, but are interesting to view separately.
Right.
So, I don't generally have a lot of this may not be true, but I don't have a lot of, like, conflict, I think. I think the conflict generally is not between the characters, right?
Right.
Like, this character did something to this character. It's usually between, like, how people are interpreting feelings or understanding feelings. And maybe that's just my own, like, way of working through how I understand or interpret feelings, but I think it's interesting to explore that in the different ways.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm thinking there was one of your books where she gets taken and brought to his planet, and God, I really hope I'm not, like, meshing all of the alien romances that I've read in my lifetime together, and this is actually your book. I hope so.
I'll let you know if it's not.
Please.
Or no.
And the ex shows up, and they, like, kiss cheek or
That's the
mouth
first
or
one.
something. Okay, so yes. Thank goodness it is your book. We're
I would've
leaving
rolled
that
with
in,
it.
guys.
I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
So this is part it's like the very like, cultural differences, right? And
Mhm.
she's a black woman who's not gonna take no shit from this alien dude. Like, first of all, you were like, "Everything's fine. You could get pregnant." I didn't know I could get pregnant. I just thought I was banging this black dude who was hot, right? Like, come on. Not only that, now I gotta get taken because this is gonna be an accelerated pregnancy, and I don't
Mhm.
know what's gonna happen. Now I come to your home where everybody lives together. It's just, like, completely different, and then your ex shows up and you kiss them.
Mhm.
Excuse me?
I know, with long, slippery gray tongue,
Oh,
like
oh
I know.
my god.
I mean, they had to have one flaw.
Like, getting them pregnant was not the
I mean,
it works out, guys. It's fine.
right. Yeah, so, I mean, I think that's, like, the cultural aspect of, like, just exploring how different people interact that I think is really interesting, and that's what's, like, speculative can kind of allow you to do because then you're taken out of the rules of how I would respond as a human person if this were another human person doing
Right.
this, right? It gives you leeway to incorporate something very strange, like watching your current partner, like, tongue kiss their ex who isn't really their ex yet. Like, technically, they're their exes, but she doesn't know that. So she's just like, hey,
Right.
well, kisses aren't a big deal. So he's just like, yeah, we kissed. Okay. Yeah, we've done it before and we'll do it again. But that happened. And how one would navigate that. I can 100% forget that I'm writing about romance and just get totally lost in culture. Like, sometimes
Uh,
most of my editing is me like drawing, like pulling back on the culture. Cause I'm like, girl, this
ooh.
ain't, I don't know. Avatar or something. I don't know. Like, this isn't you just like making up some world and you're supposed to have a romantic story happening here. Then I have to go back and be like, oh, yes. And they liked each other. After I'd taken out 40 pages of describing the food, they ate and they liked each other.
I love that variety though in your books, especially that and I am gonna butcher the name of that series.
Which one? Leica?
Leica, okay. Yeah, I'm like, it's Lyqa. I don't know. Leica, perfect. Okay, so the Leica series, like, You had one of the books where I think it might have been the second one, where the female main character is teaching the aliens Ebonics.
That was the first one still.
Oh, it was see? So much happens. And, like, I'm someone where I read smut for the smut. Like,
Mm.
I read romance for them to be banging.
Same.
And I can appreciate a really good story that pulls me in, and I feel like, yes, you do have the smutty smut that be smuttin', but I feel like the rest of the book, like, it doesn't take away from that, and maybe that's your editing and going back in and be like, "Oh, yeah, they like each other." But I feel like, so much of what you write is so interesting and, like, the world that you build and the cultures that are interacting, it just gives it so much variety. Now I'm curious, 1, have you done a lot of, like, traveling personally where you're able to pull from different cultures to, like, kind of mesh them together and make your own? Or is it like, it's all in my head?
I come from a multicultural family. That's
Nice.
one. I'm from Chicago, and I don't know if people. One thing people don't realize about Chicago, Chicago has like everybody. Every person that you could think of is in Chicago, and it's very segregated in terrible but wonderful ways where you can, like, go to an area and then, like, everything's in Arabic and everybody's Muslim and that's your corner store and you go there and eventually you're gonna learn to say something in Arabic. Or you go, you go to another area and everybody speaks Spanish and eventually you're gonna learn how to introduce yourself in Spanish. And so I just come from a really multicultural background. My father's from Jamaica. My mother is American, but she's like her family's from Virginia. She was raised in Chicago. She converted to Islam when I was 10. Like, you get all of
Yeah.
these influences. When I was in my 20s, I lived in Korea. I was a teacher in Korea
Wow.
back, it was almost 20 years ago. And I can't even, every time I think about it, back in the day. And I traveled a bit when I was there, but then also when you live, when you live in Korea, there's teachers who come from all over. So I have like a ton of South African friends. I obviously have a lot of Korean friends. And I just kind of take all of that. But I also, again, was an anthropology major. So I've always been super interested in people's cultures and language. And a lot of that is just stuff I make up in my head. So I don't know if you've read outside of the Alien series, but I have written like vampire novellas, and then I have a series
Oh, I
for
did.
sister
Taste.
series. Yes.
Yes, that one's good.
And I don't be following none of the rules of vampires. Like everybody's walking around. I don't even think about the sun. You know what I mean? Because I don't. It's just like, oh, I think of vampires, and then I just start kind of making things up. I think that's the fun thing about writing is that, and it's not even on purpose. It just doesn't occur to me to think about the rules that have already been established. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I wonder if anyone's going to question that this vampire's out in the sun. And then I'm just like, nah, but maybe they're just sleepy all the time because the sun makes them a little lethargic. And that's it. That's the
Right.
only thing I'll address it.
It's just like the secret that they tell people is that they are like, "Oh, no, that
Yeah.
person's definitely not a vampire because 'cause they're out in the sun." Right? Like, "We'll make this work."
Yeah. Just make it like that character just casually naps.
Right.
And it's just because the sun makes them a little tired. But I don't have time to be having this person coming out only at night.
No.
I want some things I need to happen in the day. So I need to change the rules so he can be in the daytime.
So true.
Was that I didn't even know if I answered your question. But yes, I did travel a little bit when I was younger. I have a multicultural background and I just be making stuff up.
Lots of variety, I love that. So now I'm curious, I know you write quite a bit. Do you also read, like, and what kinds of books do you read, and how do they maybe influence how you write your stuff?
Yeah. So I read everything. I mean, I've always read everything. My grandfather was a doctor, and I used to go to his office after school when I was in grammar school, elementary school, and I would just like read all of his medical journals, right? And I have a pretty good memory, so like just like imagine sitting and reading like, 20 pages on like ocular function or something, and I'm just like, "Yeah, this is great." And so I read everything, and somehow I retain some of these weird things, and they'll pop up later, and I'm like, "How do I know that? Oh, that's right. I read that in Opa's office." I read everything. I read romance. I will say romance is actually not the genre I read the most. I read a ton of nonfiction. Like recently, I was reading the collected writings of Martin Luther King Jr. I read, nonfiction. I love nature books. I love like social science books. So, like those kinds of things. Yeah, I just read everything. I read anything. I'm also a professor. I'm like an adjunct occasionally. I can't teach anymore, but when I was teaching, you end up reading a lot of, creative
Yeah.
nonfiction, a lot of articles. I read everything. And then, sometimes I'll go on a crazy, like, romance binge where I'm just up till 5 o'clock in the morning going through somebody's entire catalog when I have my own things to do. And I was like, actually, gotta read everything this person wrote.
I love it. How do you find time, right? So, like,
For life, for all these things.
I mean, to write, right? Like, so, like, you enjoy writing. It's something that you, like, want to put effort and
Yeah,
time into, but you also a parent, you also, like, have a job, you do all these
yeah.
things, read also, and, like, read heavy stuff, right? But then it takes a different part of your brain to be like, "I'm gonna write about a Black woman getting digged down by an alien, let's go."
It doesn't take a different part of my brain, though. That's all the same part of my
Nice.
brain. Look, I'm like, this is very interesting. I'm reading about, like the gardening habits of people 300 years ago. And then also now we're going to talk about, some woman getting digged down by an alien, but she's going to be in a field of beautiful
Right.
flowers. It just all connects. But the truth is, I've tried to do better about this. I was a very late mom. I had my daughter at 38, which means that I had almost 2 decades of unrestricted writing time, which means
Mhm.
that I could sit and just whip out my laptop anywhere or my notepad. I'm still a very heavy, like, paper writer. So I always have, like, 5 notepads on me or notebooks, and I could just do that anytime. Now my child will be like, "Feed me." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes. Let me do that, feeding things."
You're old enough to take care of yourself by now.
Yeah, that's 4. Get it together, girl. So I write when I can. I also have notepads where I just jot things down. I have so many stories, like, just completely outlined, and I just have to get to them. But I don't see writing as pressure. I don't
Mhm.
pressure myself to write. I don't feel pressured to publish either, which is so weird. Like, I
Nice.
love sharing stories, but it just doesn't feel like a thing I have to do or else. And because of that, I can kind of just write when I feel like it. I've been doing something new with my daughter because I work on a laptop for work. I work remotely, so I'm always on the laptop during the work hours. And then after, I will immediately close it and I just get away from my computer so my kid's not like, you stare at a screen all day. And then at night, she gets like 2 hours of screen time a day, so I will, like, when she wants to do her screen time, then I'll go write, and I'll write at my desktop, so I'm not mobile. I have to stay in one spot, then I gotta eventually leave. But recently, she's been my co-writer,
Aw.
so I'll just let her, I mean, not the naughty words, but I'll let her
Right.
type out the sanitized sentences, and my fingers get a break, and I get a little extra writing time in by incorporating her. So that's what I do. I just do it whenever I can, and if I don't wanna do it, I just don't. I don't ever wanna feel like writing is a chore or something that I don't like, because I really do love it, and I write every day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't write, and sometimes I can sit and crank out 15,000 words, and sometimes it's like a sentence, and I'm fine. I'm just like, "Babe, that was a great sentence. I did a good job."
Yes. So, for people who have maybe never seen your catalog, you have quite an extensive one. Can you give us, like, a breakdown of some of the series, like, maybe where to start if they're interested in hearing more? Because y'all, come on. It's so good.
Oh, thank you.
But if someone's thinking about starting, like, where should they start, and kind of what can they expect from each of your series?
Sure. So I write aliens, shifters, and vampires. So I have my main series is like a Planet Lover series. That's my OG series that has 6 books. The recent one just came out, Bear. That is a good read if you like, very sort of cushy, soft, everybody loves everybody. There's no, like, nothing is going to touch this woman at
Right.
all type love. I have a wolf shifter series that is good if you like shifters. I don't really know how to categorize that one. I mean, in terms of the feels of it,
Mm,
I think it's meant to be slightly, I guess, tougher than what I normally write because everything I write is so soft, but it still just ends up being soft.
yeah.
I am incapable of writing a hero who does not automatically just like love and want to do all the things. for the female character. I just can't. And I have another Alien series called Black Girls Off World. And that is 3 books, I believe. And that's like this kind of the Thresher people are like these like kind of mercenary assassin type people. So the heroes have that vibe. It's still very lovey-dovey though. I have a mermaid novella series, which I think is a really I always push people toward my novellas first. I always say read Taste because I don't know, something about that book was like it was just such a sweet write, like sometimes I'll write something, I'm like, oh, that was so sweet to write. And I like that one as a first read. And Nora and Bilal is like also one of my favorites, which is it's like a Christmas novella, but you read it anytime and it's super short. That's a contemporary. And then I have the vampire novella series, which is Taste and Lick. Lick just got recovered, so they're both nice and pretty. So I probably have more and I can't think about them. But I was mainly aliens, vampires, shifters, and some of them, I think the novella series are a good place to start. So if you want to, something short and sweet and yeah, it's always short and sweet.
Yeah, Taste and Lick are primo.
Wow.
So good. I have not read Nora and Bilal, that one. I have not read that one. I actually own it. I was looking at my thing. I was like, which ones do I own? And then I recently read, it was a short one. Where are you? My Alien Captor Neo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Neo. That one was good
I don't expect
too.
anyone to know. I don't expect anything.
Insert alien name here. That one's Soulmates of Somai.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that one was really good, and it has, like, a backstory happening on the side where you gotta read the other book to, like, see what's going with the side characters, and I love those kinda interconnected where you don't have to know too much about the other characters if it's, like, maybe the 2nd book in the series, but it's like, "Oh, wait, no, I actually kinda wanna know what happens with this other couple, so let's go back and read that too." And those are so good, just, like, bite-sized ones. You have Jeannie's Jin as well, do you?
Oh,
I
no,
think
you're right.
the
I
Third
don't have
Street
Jen. I don't
Conjure
have Jen. You're
Boys.
thinking of Jessica. I have Third Street Conjure Boys, which is reincarnated deities, and I don't know why I always forget that one.
Okay.
And
I was like,
yeah,
it has your name on it.
it does have it's just
There's
like I'm
I
staring at the book.
don't know if there's another Nikki Clarke.
Yeah, Third Street Conjure Boys. In my mind, I low-key characterize that as contemporary, and I don't know why. Probably because
Interesting.
it's not contemporary because there's no aliens. I just forget about it. And also sometimes I'll write things and it's just because I had the idea and it came to me very quickly, and then I will 1,000% forget I ever wrote it. I know what I'm talking about. You have to say the whole title. Oh, yes. That entire series I wrote. Right. Yeah. So Third Street Conjure Boys is a reincarnated deity. So I probably had a dream or something. And then I said, oh, yes, I'm going to do that for sure. An entire series I will forget about. And I really actually love that series. But I try to incorporate, I'm not religious and I don't poo poo on anyone's religion, but I like the idea of not religion, but like the idea of like all of these deities that people have believed in or do believe in, and just how, what they do, right? They're like little superhero, not little, but like they're superhero characters, right? They have like all these powers and all these connections to like nature and all these things. And I just had this idea to write love stories that are where the main characters are just reincarnated deities. And I will say there's something about how I write is that I will think up these really what feel like grand like ideas, like, ooh, reincarnated deities. And it has nothing to do with I don't care about the deities. Like that. It's just a regular love story, but everyone just happens to be like Oshun reincarnated, right? And that's it. Like, there's no special thing. We're not like trying to like stop the gods from coming to the earth and take over. I don't care about none of that, right? It's like, do you love me? Do I love you? Oh, really? You have a rainbow goddess in you? That's great. Wonderful. But that one's really fun. I feel like the themes are a little like maybe more dangerous, but yeah, that one.
I did not even realize that you had the Wolf series, so now I'm gonna need to go back and look at those. Because I definitely read the vampire ones, and I started the alien one, and I got a few into that one. I also started reading more of the, like, because you have, like, a read the in a certain order,
Mhm.
and so I started, like, kind of crisscrossing, zigzagging, however the heck I wanted to.
Mhm.
So, reading them in specific order might help me remember exactly where I was in the series, but I'm pretty sure I got to the 3rd book with the dude with the king dude with the gold wings, and they have to, like, traverse
Chester
over
Bottoms.
this whole, like,
Mhm.
planet and while
Mhm.
carrying an egg, and that one was really interesting as well. I think that the 3rd one? Okay.
Yes.
For people who can't see, Nikki's nodding. I was correct.
I'm nodding, that is true. That was
Yes.
the 3rd one,
Okay.
yeah. You've been on point, so look, you're more on point than me.
I mean, I see genies, the reincarnated gods, my bad.
It's okay.
I did not read that one. I just saw Conjure and thought genies,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
don't know why.
Yeah, no, I get it because like, you're conjuring something, so, probably what's being conjured, but I was thinking more like they're the conjurers.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mhm.
Alright, so if people are like, "Okay, yes, we wanna get more of Nikki's books," and I know you have quite a few you're working on, like you said, no release dates because they will come out when they come out, and you have quite an extensive backlog for new people to go check out. What is one book that you think, like, "Go start with this one first?
Mhm.
Absolutely, and then where can they find it, buy it, etcetera, and then where can they connect with you on socials?
Yeah, so I would say start with Taste.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
sweet little bite-sized read, no pun intended, it's about vampires. You can find all of my work on nikkiclarkeromance.com. I'm mostly on Amazon, but I do, like, sold signed copies on my website if people are into that, and all of my socials are at Nikki Clarke Romance. Keep it all the same.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we'll have links for that in the show notes for anyone who's going about doing other things as they're listening or watching us. So show notes for the podcast and YouTube description. You can just scroll right down there and you will find all of this stuff. And I will also try to find the link to your post on the order of reading so that way people can also check that out if they're like, all right, I see this series, but is that the middle of the extended series of the other series? Make it simple for everybody. Nikki, thank you so much. This
Of
has been so much fun
course.
chatting with you, getting to know you, and it makes me even more excited to go back through more of your backlog because now I know the person behind the stories.
Oh, thank you so much. This was great. I love to laugh and chat about, aliens digging down people. It's wonderful.
Right. Especially Black women.
Of course, because
Love
we
it.
deserve it.
Yes.
We deserve it. If aliens come down here and they're fine, it's for us. We
Yep.
deserve it.